Man, you guys sound so good tonight. You're welcome. Hey, can we just give a little round of applause for the band? Thank them for what they do. And I honestly, I want to thank you guys for letting me come out and talk to you about Elijah. We're in 1 Kings 18, and it's a phenomenal story, one of the high points of the Old Testament. But before we get into the message, I just wanted to show you where we're headed. I think you know this already, but for the whole week, we're going to let everybody know when anybody makes a decision, you can let everybody know what decision you're making by coming over here. And you know the old train tracks where you kind of, the switchers on the train track? It's just going to be a symbol for you to say, I want to switch the direction of my life. We're not saying you're going 180 the wrong direction, but I'm on the wrong track, or maybe I got one wheel on one track and one on another, and I need to get my direction right. So there's one handle that you can pull back. Now, you'll notice when you come up here, there's two buttons. There's a right button and a left button. The right button is going to go green. And whenever you push that right button, what you're telling everybody in the room is that I'm accepting Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. I've never done that before. I was outside of Christ. I want to be inside Christ. Like I was on a different track. I just want to run on Jesus' track from now on. So you just push the right button, pull it back, and the whole room's going to know what decision you're making. Now, I suspect that a lot of you in here have already accepted Christ, which is super cool. But sometimes when you're following after Jesus, well, it's true with anything, right? You can go hiking. You just kind of get on the wrong trail for a little bit. And you need to come back to the right trail. So for you, that's this left button, and it's going to light up the blue light. So what you're telling everyone in your group and everyone in the whole conference, you're saying, I'm a Christ follower, but I haven't been on the right track. And I want to go all in with Jesus. Okay, that's good? So that's what we're going to, at the end of the message, would really be cool, is if when you come forward on the outside. Just like you're coming out of the shadow. It'll be symbolic. You're coming out of the shadows, but when you go back to your seat, you'll use the two inside aisles to say, I want everybody to know. Like I lit up the light and everyone can see, but I'm going to walk back loud and proud, letting everybody know the decision I make. We're good on that? Okay, good. So I wish tonight I could have brought Mike with me, because honestly, ladies, you would love Mike. He's one of those guys where he walks in the room and all the girls just go, what? I want me some of that. Mike is a starter on a football team, one big linebacker dude, and a great guy. He's a beautiful smile. So you look at Mike and you just go, here's a guy that's got it all together. But Mike has a problem. He's purposely getting in fistfights at school. Like just beating the crap out of these other guys. This flashpoints of anger that he doesn't seem to control. And we're talking to Mike at our church went on a conference just like this, a MOVE conference, and we're talking to Mike saying, dude, what's going on? Like, why are you doing that? Because the reason you're hitting other people doesn't seem to match what they've done. And he goes, it doesn't. He said, to be honest with you, the reason that I'm picking fights with other dudes is because I want them to feel the pain publicly that I'm feeling privately when I get hit. And I suspect that some of you can relate to Mike. I wish you could meet Amanda. She's another one. She is a fireball. And guys, you'd look at her and just go, whoa, like some dude is going to pay for falling in love with her, because she's like, woo. She comes from the Bronx in New York. And so she kind of has that, like, raspy, like in-your-face spirit. She loves her mother. But the reason she's living in Phoenix, attending our church there, is because she and her mom are toxic for each other. Like so bad that they can't be in the same house or even in the same city. It's bad. And I've told Amanda this. It's like, you're either going to be the president of the United States or you're going to go to prison. I don't know which, but one of the two, I'm pretty certain, is for you. She rounded up, when we were at our conference, we rounded up a whole table full of young ladies. And she said, like, I'm going to get Mark to sit down and talk with us, but you better have your questions in order. And they did. I mean, they had these written questions they wanted to talk about. So for about an hour and a half, we just sat and talked about their questions in life and growing and coaching and mentoring. And then I asked the girls at the table, who's the leader in your youth group? And they all just went, well, it's her. And everybody saw that. The problem with her is, like, when she's on fire for Jesus, she is all in. But there's other times where she's just inconsistent. And whenever she's all in with drugs, like, she's all in. Whenever she's all in with a guy, she's all in. Whenever she's all in with parties, she's all in. And she's like got 1 foot here and 1 foot here, and she's miserable in the church because of the foot that's out of the church. She's miserable out of the church because of the foot that's in the church. And I'm just telling her, man, get on one track. Like, pull the lever, change direction, and decide what track you're going to run on. Jessie, sweet little girl, 15 years old. She looks like she's about 13, to be honest with you. She really looks young. Her father's African American. Her mother is white, and so she's got this skin that, like, you would die for. She is gorgeous. Dark brown hair that's kind of curly, naturally curly. Doesn't ever have to do anything with it. I know you hate her for that. Her eyes are bright blue. And when you look in her eyes, it's like, oh my gosh, am I looking at an angel or a human being? I don't know sometimes. She is so, and what a heart. She goes to our youth services Sunday night, but Sunday morning, she's at church all morning, like 3 hours in the morning, because she is volunteering with special needs kids. And then she's working with 4th and 5th graders. I mean, she's everywhere. And she actually came up and asked me, like, I want to go into ministry, so what more should I be doing? Well, we had this kind of a class at our week of camp for kids who wanted to go into ministry. And I was the one teaching the class, so there's, 50 kids in the class. And she comes in and sits down, like 5 minutes into it, just jumps up and, not walks, runs out of the room. And her youth coach came up to me and says, she is so embarrassed, she's so ashamed that she did that, but she struggles with anxiety disorder, and she has these panic attacks. And in fact, right after camp was over, her parents put her in an in-care facility for an eating disorder. Like, she loves Jesus. She's all in with Jesus, but she's got another foot in worry and anxiety, and it's tearing her in two different directions. And I guess the reason I'm telling you those stories is because Elijah has something to say to you. Think about Mike and Amanda and Jesse. Listen to what Elijah has to say. How long will you waver between two opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him. If Baal is God, follow him. But quit pretending like you're going after God when you got your eye on Baal, and quit pretending like you're going after Baal when your eye is on God. Go with one or the other, but make a decision of which track you're going to run down. So let me give you the backstory of all this, because as you saw in the video, this is a showdown. You remember from this morning that Elijah told King Ahab, he's a bad dude, like he's a bad leader. He's leading all just tragedy in Israel because of this bad leader. And Elijah fronts Ahab and says, there will be no rain for 3.5 years. No rain. Well, that destroys everything. Like, I live in a desert. I know how precious water is. And so we're getting right at the 3.5 year mark. And God said to Elijah, go show yourself to Ahab again. Now, Ahab has a guy that works in his house. His name is Obadiah. Anyone ever memorized the books of the Bible? Okay, Obadiah is one of them. Remember that? He's like this small little, I don't know if he was small, could have been big, I don't know, but his book is little. And Obadiah is working with the king. Now, when the king went off the rails, Obadiah took 100 prophets of God and hid them in a cave. So, good dude, 2 thumbs up. And now Elijah is coming out of hiding. 3.5 years, he's under the radar. He's coming out of hiding, comes out of the desert, and he finds Obadiah. And Obadiah's going, my master. He was like a Yoda for Obadiah. And he goes, my master. And he goes, listen, you go tell King Ahab that we need to meet. I'm coming for him. And Obadiah goes, what, do you hate me? You want me to go tell King Ahab that you're still alive? He will kill me. Look, I hid 100, listen to this, I hid 100 prophets in a cave so that Ahab wouldn't kill him, and now you want me to go get killed by Ahab? Are you nuts? And he goes, no, you're not going to get killed, trust me. I'm going to take the brunt of his wrath. And he goes to Ahab and he says, I double dog dare you. You bring all your boys. You got 450 prophets of Baal. You've got 400 prophets of another god, and I want you to get all 850 prophets, and you meet me on the top of Mount Carmel. It was the highest mountain in that entire area. And Elijah just goes up there. It's like not mano a mano, it's mano a 850 manos, and I'm going to take y'all on. And they get up on the mountain, and listen to what Elijah says. This is crazy. Because some of you in the room are like the people of Israel. You got 1 foot in one rail and 1 foot on another rail, and you just need to choose a track. But some of you are like Elijah. Like you're following God, but you're hiding in the shadows because you think you're the only one following God. It's just not true. Listen to what Elijah says in verse 22. Elijah said to them, I am the only one of the Lord's prophets left, but Baal has 450 prophets. Poor, pitiful me. I'm all alone. Nobody likes me. Everybody hates me. I'm gonna eat some word. Elijah, come on. Wait a minute. Who was Elijah's friend? Who did he go to see? Obadiah. What did Obadiah do? He hid 100 prophets of God in these caves. And Elijah knows that. And yet he still has the audacity to say, I'm the only one. No, man, you're not the only one. You think you're the only one struggling? You're not the only one. You think you're the only one on your team that honors God? You're not the only one. You think you're the only one at your school who will speak out for it? You're not the only one. So quit hiding in the shadows and come out. You know why there's 450 prophets of Baal? Because the prophets of God are in hiding. And we need some of you to come out and pull that blue lever and say, listen, I'm going to light my light and let everybody know what I intend to do when I go back to school. Because I'm going to be a spokesman for my God. So there's Elijah thinking he's the only one. He's not the only one. He's facing these 450 prophets. And here's the way he lays it out. He says, look, guys, here's what we're going to do. We're going to get 2 bulls. You get a bull, I get a bull. I want you to chop up your bull into little pieces. I know it's gory. And you put it on your altar. And I'm going to chop up my bull into little pieces. I'm going to put it on my altar. And then we're going to start to pray. And you can't light your altar. Because you let your God light your altar. And we'll see what happens. And the 450 go, no, deal. I mean, there's 450 of us, there's just one of you. We're going to pray to our God, Baal and Asherah. We're going to pray that they light the, and so they did. Elijah, gentlemen, he says, you guys go first. And they started to pray. Started in the morning. Baal! Baal! Come on, baby, light your fire. You know what happened? Nothing. I don't know what Elijah's doing. Like, this goes on all morning long. And Elijah's just sitting there going, and so he lets this go on for hours. And then it says, this is hilarious. You got to read the Bible. There's some hilarious stuff in here. Verse 25, Elijah said to the prophets of Baal, choose one of the bulls, prepare. So we already got to that. Now verse 27, at noon, Elijah began to taunt them. Shout louder. Maybe he can't hear you. Woohoo! Baal. This next one, you won't believe this even in here. Surely he is a God. Perhaps he's deep in thought. Or maybe he's busy. There's an interesting Hebrew word. We don't even know what it means for sure. I'll tell you what, one group of rabbis said it means that he was busy, like doing business. You got go poo poo. Number one, number two, you got go poo poo. The Baal is stinky. The Baal is stinky. What's the matter? Is he on vacation? Or maybe he's just asleep. Wake him up, wake him up. He's smack talking 450 prophets of Baal. So they shouted louder. And listen, again, this is verse 28. Just proof text me on this. So they shouted louder and slashed themselves with swords and spears, as was their custom, until the blood flowed. What kind of God is that? That you're cutting yourself for your God. I'll tell you what kind of God that is. That is the satanic influence of this world. And some of you know him very well. Because you keep crying out. Maybe your God is money. Or maybe your God is lust. Maybe your God is pleasure. Maybe your God is popularity. But it breaks my heart because I'm watching you. Let me just talk to you young ladies here. I'm watching you young ladies trying to seek popularity and beauty as a God that will save you. And all it does is leave you bloodied. And you slash yourselves. And then you go on social media and slash each other. Because somehow you think that if you can just be popular with the kids at school, then that will be your salvation. And I'm telling you, the gods of this world will leave you bloodied. Some of you guys, you're going to a god of pornography because you think that's going to give you satisfaction. It doesn't, does it? It leaves you feeling empty and alone and disgusting. When are you going to stop crying out to a God that only brings you harm? When are you going to start crying out to the God that can really bring fire down from heaven? Elijah's had enough. He said, all right, boys, it's my turn. You couldn't get any fire from heaven, so here we go. This is verse 29. But there was no response. No one answered. No one paid attention. Then Elijah said to all the people, come here. Come here to me. They came to him, and listen to what happens next. He repaired the altar of the Lord, which was in ruins. Now, I know that those were real stones, but it has a symbol in it to me. Because as I hang around students at our church, and there's a lot of students at 15 years old, 16 years old, 17 years old that are going, I'm too broken for God to fix. Are you kidding me? Yet the things that I've done with my body, that I've just made some mistakes, and God can't fix that. My relationship with my parents is too broken. I'm living with a friend right now, and I just want to finish high school and then get out of town because it's too broken. All the king's horses and all the king's men didn't have the power of God to put you back together again. And if tonight, I swear to you, if tonight you will come up and pull that lever, whether it's a green light for a first-time decision or a blue light to recommit your life to Christ, there is nothing too broken that your God cannot put it back together again. And I want to tell you one other thing. This comes out of the very next verse. He says, Elijah took 12 stones, one for each of the tribes descended from Jacob, the 12 tribes of Israel, to whom the word of the Lord had come, saying, your name shall be Israel. I don't know what name people are calling you, stupid, ugly, dumb, racist, bully, fat, ugly, whatever names that other people have put on you, God wants to give you a new name. And tonight, he wants to call you Israel. He wants to call you son, daughter, princess, royalty, righteous, honorable, true, strong, brave, kind. God has a new name for you. And if you pull the lever, whether it's green light or blue light, if you pull the lever, you also get a new name and a new hope that God can put it back together again. And look, I know that sometimes if you just kind of look around and people criticize the Church of Jesus Christ, that's what the 12 stones symbolizes, the people of God. Sometimes you can look at a church, and there's no church that's perfect. Ours isn't, partly because I'm in it. I get it. But you realize that the Church of Jesus Christ is in fact the hope of the world. I'm not just talking about getting to heaven someday. I'm talking about right here, right now. The Church of Jesus Christ is the hope of the world. How many of you, just raise your hand if you've ever gone into Mexico or some other country to build a house for a poor family? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. You see that? You see that? There is no other institution on earth that has built more houses for poor people than the Church of Jesus Christ. I have lived through a deadly tornado that killed 165 people in my town of Joplin, Missouri. The church was the first one in and the last one out, and that is true of every single national disaster and natural disaster in the history of the United States. Fact check me, the church is first in and last out. We're the church. Did you know that the Church of Jesus Christ was primarily responsible for the abolition of slavery? Fact check me on that. And this free public education is due to the Church of Jesus Christ sweeping across the plains of early America. Did you know that no one in the history of the world has done more for the liberation and protection of women and the education of women than the Church of Jesus Christ? Are you aware that in the early centuries of the church, we were the only people that overcame racism in the Roman Empire? The only ones. We're the only ones that had rich and poor, slave and free, male and female together in one body worshiping together. And may it be again today. We are the church, and you can be a part of that. And even if you're broken, God can build you up and give you a new name and a new place and a new hope. God is listening in heaven right now. And as Elijah was praying on the top of this mountain, he said, "Answer me, O Lord! Answer me, so these people will know that you, O Lord, are God, and that you're turning their hearts back again." I'm just crying out, God, can you hear me? Show yourself again to that young woman who thinks there's no hope, that there's no love, that there's no community. Show yourself again. It's not my responsibility to show God to you. You realize that? Like, that's above my pay grade. I had this dude named Jeff. He's his chest is about this big around. He's about as tall as I am, but like 30 pounds heavier and in all the right places. So this dude, he comes up to me and he's like really aggressive, bald-headed, hence gorgeous. He like gets right in my face and says, "Pastor, you need to talk me into God." So I got real aggressive back. I said, "No, I don't." He goes, "Well, I'm an atheist." You may not believe in God. He believes in you. What I had to say, man? He goes, "No, you got to talk me into God." I said, "All right, why do I need to talk you into God?" And Jeff said, "Well, because I like coming to your church." I said, bro, you can keep coming to our church as an atheist. And he goes, no, like, I get it. You're welcoming me. I get it. Here's the problem. I've invited 5 of my neighbors over the last months to come to your church with me. They've all gotten baptized, and now I feel like a hypocrite. Dude, when the atheists feel like hypocrites, that's a good church for you to be in. I'm just saying. So I started sharing with Jeff, just having conversations over time. It took about 3 months. And we'd just go out to coffee like once a month, and I would share some other idea with him. I remember one day we're driving to the coffee shop. It's right across from the church. And I was telling Jeff about a miraculous healing that I was part of in the country of Ethiopia. Like, I was there when a friend of mine got healed. And Jeff said, you can stop. Really? Why? He goes, I met God. So I'm trying not to like jump out of my skin because I'm super excited. I'm trying to play it cool, I go, really? Where'd you meet him? In my truck. And I said, this is a quote. I said, I didn't know he'd fit, but all right. What was it like? Now, Jeff had never read the Bible. And so he started describing what it was like to meet God. And he nearly quoted Revelation chapter 5. And I said, bro, I guess you did. So, like, what are you going to do about it? And he looked at me like I was stupid. He said, well, I thought you had, like, baptized me or something. I said, we can do that. Like, when do you want to get baptized? Again, he looked at me like I was stupid. We don't do it now? I said, man, well, we can go across the street. We'll baptize you. I had another friend with me. We'll baptize you. But I knew Jeff's wife had been praying for him for 2 decades. And I knew that she would want to be part of this massive celebration. I said, Jeff, do you want to call your wife? And he said, no. This is between me and God, not me and her. I said, all right, okay, that's your decision, but I'm just telling you, you're going to get baptized and you go to heaven. You don't tell your wife, you may go there sooner than you think. So he didn't say anything. I didn't know. He texted her and said, I'm getting baptized. So we are in the baptistry. We have an outdoor baptistry. So we're in the baptistry, and we've got this big old lawn. It's like an acre and a half, and she's like, she's screaming, running across that lawn, like super ticked at him, but also crying because she's so happy. Jeff! So you know what I did? I dunked him real quick before she'd get there. No, we waited for her. If you call out to God today, He will answer you. Can you feel Him in the room? There may not be fire fall from heaven, but it did that day. Verse 38. Elijah told everybody, okay, I want you to take the altar that I've rebuilt and take some water and pour it around the outside of the altar. Pour it all over the bull that I cut up like earlier that morning. It had to stink by then. And I want you to pour water all over it. So they did. He said, do it again. So they did it again. Do it again. So they did it again. 3rd time. And then Elijah prayed. And the fire of the Lord fell. It's about to fall right in here. And it burned up the sacrifice. It burned up the wood. It burned up the stones. It burned up the soil around the stones. Listen, when God shows up, you know. He's going to come with fire. But it kind of reminds me of this student of mine years ago. His name was David. Super smart guy. He had just accepted Christ. He was the major drug dealer in Webb City, Missouri. Carthage, Missouri. He dealt a lot of different stuff, and he took all of it. You have to sample your goods, I guess. I mean, this guy was like crazy drug addict. At one point, he was on his roof shooting 2 pistols into the air to try to kill the demons that he was seeing. Some of them were real. And God kept calling him. Will you come to me? And he's going, no, I'm not going to give my life to God. And there's this one spring day. Sun was out. Sky was blue. Everything was calm. And he drove by a church. Windows were rolled up in his truck. Drove by a church, and he felt the Holy Spirit saying, come to me. And he just got mad. And he whips his truck into the parking lot of this church and yelled at God, I will never fear you. And I don't know how to explain this. I'm just telling you, Dave is not the kind of guy that makes stuff up. He's not the kind of guy that's like super emotional or mystical, but here's what Dave said happened in that moment. With the windows rolled up, a wind slammed through the cab of his truck, and an audible voice said, you will fear me! And he did. I don't know how God's going to speak to you. Maybe it is with fire from heaven. Or maybe it's a fire you're going through right now. Maybe it's a wind that is going to blast you up against a wall and pin you there. Or maybe it's a whisper. But my guess is that some of you don't need the fire from heaven right now because you've got a fire in your heart, like your chest is pounding right now. Because you know today is the day. This is your Mount Carmel. And you've been straddling the tracks for too long, and you felt miserable here because of one foot in the church, and miserable here because one foot in the world. Some of you, you've been on the totally wrong track, and it's like, I don't know how to get back on track. I just want to offer you this opportunity. And I'm going to ask that when the band strikes up this next song, I want you to stand to your feet. Don't come to the stage, because this is Mount Carmel. And only those who are ready to make a decision come to the mountain. We've got some lights over here, another one on the edge, 2 over on this side. And I'm just going to ask, if you're ready to make a decision for Christ, whether it's the blue button for rededication or the green one to accept Christ for the very first time, if you're up in the balcony, you can come on down. I want everybody to go to the outsides to come down to make a decision. And once you've made the decision, bring a youth coach with you, bring an adult with you. Make this decision together where you come out and boldly say, I know I'm not the only one. I know I'm not the only one. But I'm going to stand for God on my Mount Carmel. And after you've lit the light, I know the lines are going to be long, so don't stay up here to pray. There's plenty of room at the back to pray. But if you would, I want everyone who has made a decision to go to either this center aisle or this center aisle, and you walk proud before the people of God. And if you're on one of these aisles, feel free to high five. Feel free to welcome them, because you've been in the cave that Obadiah put you in. It's time for you to come out as well and let everybody know, I stand for the Lord God. And this is my day of decision on Mount Carmel. Because after Elijah calls them to this decision, verse 39 says, when all the people saw this, they fell prostrate and cried, the Lord, He is God. The Lord, He is God. I just have a sense that there's someone that wants to say that right now. The Lord, He is God. And maybe you could just walk down this aisle. I see some coming right now. Come on. Let's hear it.